You want me to hit it with the 3, 2, 1 action? You want to do it?
No, I was saying 3, 2, 1 for this leg thing.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Hello everyone, I'm Sam Norris, and today I'm here with Kidmoon. Hey and today we're just we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna talk about inspiration and everything art. So maybe you could start there with inspiration.
Currently, I would say I'm very inspired by like a lot of old rock bands, and obviously some like new pop and R&B artists. Like I would say for rock, I would say like I'm really liking Nirvana, Foo Fighters. Really digging them right now. It's hard to think like on the spot because like literally now that I have a camera on me, it's like so hard. But for like R&B, Steve Lacy, Dominic Fike really started like deep diving into the internet. Oh no, they're like very popular. I can't think of like the like very low key ones.
Yeah.
But
I think it's kind of crazy too how like some of these artists that you're naming, like Nirvana, especially Foo Fighters. If we went like 10 years back, for most of us, I don't know if it was the same for you, but like Foo Fighters was like one of my dad's favorite bands. And now we're at a point in time where it's like these bands are becoming cool to like younger and younger and younger generations. Do any of these bands have like a specific kind of impact? Like how do they impact you as an artist, seeing like Kurt Cobain and like the lead singer of the Foo Fighters date?
I would say like a lot of the topics that they speak about, it like resonates with me a lot because obviously like I didn't go through the same things they went through, but I'd say I kind of pick certain parts of the things that they've talked about. And even though it didn't relate to me like 100%, I found moments in my life where I was able to get something that they talked about. Like they've had something going on with them and I related it to me, even though it was a different situation.
Right.
But like I still found a way to like listen to it and always go back to it because it brings me back to like a memory of like my childhood or certain things that I went through even recently of like 2 years ago, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's like one of the beauties of music, and I think we're at two different kind of standpoints with that. Like you make it and I consume it, but I think there's like one of the big common things with everybody who listens or is involved in music is like the ability to relate yourself to art. So I think it's cool, and I think like when I listen to your music, there's kind of always this underlying like emotion, you know what I mean? It's not positive some of the times, and I think like I mean that in like a very good way, you know what I mean? So I think it's easier for me to see, your relation to those artists. Is that something that you want to try to explore? Because like Nirvana, for example, and Foo Fighters, like they're really dark. It's really dark music when you kind of strip it back. Is that something that you want to, in the future of your music, like really try to dive into yourself? Because I think
so with that, I feel like making music on a lot of darker subjects, especially like because like I don't write my music at all. It's kind of like I kind of just say what I'm feeling at that present moment. And it's like with people, because obviously I have like a few songs that are obviously like has positive messages, love songs, blah blah blah. But it's like with people, there's a handful of people who obviously aren't feeling those things, and I would say it's a greater majority because people who are happy like and like are content with everything, like there's only so much music can do for them.
Right.
But it's like if you're already content, like there's nothing I could do for you.
Yeah.
And obviously some people need music to help them feel better and help them cope with the things that they went through. So I'd say I'd like want to target that audience more. Yeah. Since it's like it's the least I could do, especially like when I have a big support system of people of that majority. So
yeah, and you do have a very like dedicated following. I think it's cool. I think it's really admirable that like one of the things for you is you want to like help people. And also I think to your point too, it's like I feel like it's harder for people to relate to like, just always like consistently upbeat and just happy, and it's like a good thing to be that in your life, but like if I need music that I can like vulnerably connect to, I'm not putting on like happy by Pharrell Williams, you know what I mean? I think it's like, or it's more important to like establish like an audience and a thing of whatever that nature through like being vulnerable. Is that like one of your goals when you make things, is just like put everything out on the line for your listeners to...
Yeah, because it's like, you know, if I don't do it, and there's some times where like it's very fiction based and I like making stories.
Yeah.
But, you know, it has to get to a point sometimes where like I need to speak about what I'm feeling. Yeah. And if what I speak about relates to another person, then, you know, like it happens. But I can't just always, you know, be fake. And if that counts for me to be vulnerable and the lyrics being very dark, or it is what it is, you know.
No, definitely. In terms of inspiration for outlets of vulnerability, because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably hard to be vulnerable out the gate as like an artist, right? And it's like, it's hard to be vulnerable anywhere, like on the internet. Like a lot of people have like a fear of perception or like being perceived and things like that. How did you kind of like, was there like a muse for you in terms of like an artist who was just really raw and really vulnerable that allowed you to be like, you know what, I could do this too, I could help people?
I would say like, obviously back to Kurt Cobain, and a lot of X's music too.
Yeah. Definitely
like two artists that really had no problem with being vulnerable and like really talking about their emotions, no matter how dark they were, or no matter how weird it was, that it would make other people question them in a way. I feel like listening to those artists kind of got me comfortable, and seeing them, it was like, if they could do it, that like I obviously can
do it too.
And it got to a point, you know, where the whole perception talk that you were just saying, I didn't want people to like see me in a negative light in a way, or see me as weird, or listen to it and be like, yo, what is this kid talking about? And it obviously took some time for me to like really just speak and not care, because it gets to a point where like you need to stop caring, or else like you're not gonna feel content about what you're making.
Right. I feel like people are, sometimes it's like advice that I always give people in like so many facets of life is like, really the only like thing standing in your way of like being who you want to be is just yourself. A lot of people don't realize, I think a lot of people don't realize that like people really don't give a fuck about you and like about us. Like we have this like innate fear of like, I'm like, oh, like how are people gonna receive this, or like I wear this or things like that, and it's always just like a fleeting, like nobody actually really gives a fuck. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And I think it's crazy too about X, of like, I think it's crazy because when X originally came out, he got really popular, but do you remember like how poorly received it was at the time?
It was, a lot of it was a lot of negativity, and he basically grew like from negativity. So I'm trying to like make a pivot and, you know, really talk about serious things. With 17, a lot of people were like, they weren't weirded out, but they were kind of like why aren't you screaming, like what is this? You know. So it takes a lot to make a change like that and do that without like caring.
Right. Well, I think he did it pretty flawlessly too. It's just crazy to think that like that time period, everybody, like a big majority, at least in like my school, maybe it was different for yours, like he was considered to be like corny. Like people thought that X was just super fucking corny and like, oh, why are you like talking about a girl that died on a song and da da da. But now it's like, you know, we're a couple years removed from his passing, and now it's like, but he was generational and he was things like that. I feel like, do you ever think about the fact that sometimes it takes artists dying for what they really did for people to be recognized?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of cases where obviously some people are already popular, but like they'll grow like even more, and you know, music will get on the billboards, go #1, start hitting billion streams on certain songs because they passed. But there's a lot of people who are just like late, and people aren't appreciated for as much as like they did when they were alive.
Right.
And then people look at it because a lot of the times they just don't care until until you die, because it's not gonna happen again. There's probably gonna be another person eventually who like takes that place, but like can't fill shoes, because there's just certain people that once in a lifetime people, and I really like believe in that, because there's certain people like who really do great shit with their life, and then certain people who kind of just like rot and like live,
take a full advantage of their moment, you know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like people try to, but they get muted by kind of what we're talking about right now. And I think X was like a very, very like generational example for younger people, because when he came out, I think we're what, a year apart in age, something?
I think so, yeah.
I'm 20.
No, 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. So like we were around that same, we were in like middle school when he was coming out, and to us it's like looking at these people like just like colossals, you know what I mean? Older people obviously talking down on it, but I feel like people don't realize how much younger artists do for younger people. You know what I mean? Like the wave of people that you're probably impacting, like you probably don't even know the scale of like the people that are even younger than you, starting high school, that are in middle school, that see you as an example of like, oh, like he's super young and he's doing all this and he's vulnerable and he's like not afraid to, you know, not look like everybody else trying to do music right now. And I think that that's really, really cool, honestly. Okay. You're welcome. We should pivot into, I want to pick your brain about how do you find your inspiration sources, because I think that's kind of the overarching theme of this conversation. I think the best example is the Scott Pilgrim. Just so cool. The cover was great. Shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out Narayan, man. The
X2.
Next Superstar feed.
And the video too was just like, it was just great. You know what I mean? That's a movie I watched when I was a kid as well. So how do you go about like what's the moment when you're watching like a movie and you're like, bam, or like even when we did the video, when we did the Sunseeker video, and there was a portion where you wanted to do where it was based on the Glaive video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So when I was younger, I used to make like these Lego videos, and I would basically like do stop motion.
The stop motion
videos. You know, fighting, doing whatever, like building up these things, right? So I got really into like filming and like really looking at the art of movies really young. So I would say like taking inspiration and remaking films, I would say it's a good thing that like I'm doing these things, but it's obviously I want to be original as well. Right. But I would say a lot of these videos, like especially the Wide Awake video, like there's only so many like original elements. Yeah. But realistically, like I make these videos almost as like a portfolio. Yeah. Because like eventually, like I'm not gonna do music like forever. I want to really get into like actually filmmaking and movies, acting, whatever. And I make those types of videos, it's kind of just like another tiny film in my portfolio, but also I do it for the love, because I just like the film, like the way it was edited, like every single element about it. So yeah.
I think like everything, like do you ever think it's like a subconscious, like you kind of see yourself in these, you know, it's kind of like drawing back to that relatability thing. Like you see yourself like connecting to these scenes or these characters like Scott Pilgrim, you know, especially with like I read the comic or like I see the animation and I'm just kind of like, this just makes sense. You know what I mean? Do you think it's a thing of that as well?
Yeah, sometimes it comes from a place of being like, I relate to them, and I like want to fill their shoes in for a video of mine. But then really just comes out for like what's the word? I would say is just another way for me to reconnect with my childhood. Yeah. Because that movie came out when I was like pretty young. Yeah, 2010. So it came out. So I was fucking 5
or 7. Yeah.
So, and I watched that movie like a couple years later. Yeah. And I don't know, it kind of is a way for me to reconnect with my kid self and kind of like put myself in that place, so then I could look at it and be like, yo, I did that.
Yeah, of course. You know? I feel like too we're in a time with and there's so many creatives. It's so oversaturated, which not like a bad thing in and of itself, but I feel like it's almost like it's getting increasingly impossible, to be honest, to come up with something completely original. Because even for me, like every type of like fashion video everything has been made. You know what I mean? So it's like when I want to like make something new, it's always a thing of like, okay, well, it's kind of based off something else. Like, do you think it's like, agree? I feel like we're kind of in a space where it's increasingly challenging, like visually arts and things like that.
I mean, like, realistically, almost everything has been done before.
Exactly, yeah.
And especially in this day and age where people are so like close-minded and judgmental, like you could really do anything that wouldn't be perceived as like trendy or something, and I mean somebody's still gonna call you a poser, or some shit at the end of the day. So it just gets to a point where just do whatever you want, and you have to have the mentality to just be like, I don't really care, I'm gonna just wear what I want, post what I want, and if I'm content, then
I definitely think there's like a closed-minded epidemic.
Everyone's like is in their own bubble and
their own niche.
If they see somebody out of their bubble or anything, people are gonna be like, no, what the fuck are you doing? So it's very annoying, but you know,
or God forbid they like cross or try to like collaborate.
Like it's gonna be like really impossible. There's not much anyone could do about it.
Right. I think too, for your kind of like, I don't know how to like exactly pinpoint it, but like your kind of like niche, your bubble, your like aesthetic and things like that. I feel like, at least from what I've seen on the internet, and like your girlfriends especially, the most just like poser. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't get, like, I don't know, people are so quick to call people like posers when it's like, the whole thing of a community is there's going to be people that leave it and people that come in. You know, I think it's like, how are we supposed to distinguish? You know what I mean? Like, sorry, my parents weren't like scene kids, but maybe I want to be one. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. It's like people are really quick to call you like unoriginal, and like even for me, like I don't really like dress a certain way. I kind of just like put on clothes, and sometimes, you know, I'll get like a nice piece and put it on just because I like it. But I don't know, that poser talking, that like, bro, it's some corny shit.
It's really, dude, it's really, really fucking corny. And I was gonna ask you about that. Do you think fashion has any like play into what you do too, or you kind of just go with what you want to do?
I kind of just go with what I want to do. I feel like it gets to a point where some people feel like they need a, what is the word? Dress like how they act.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of people who will literally like.
Oh, like aesthetic.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of people who like want to dress one way. But like with the way, especially like music. Like there's a lot of people who like don't want to dress a certain way because of the type of music they make.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. It gets to a point where it kind of just looks weird, and it's a big thing of like people not truly being themselves,
right,
and a lot of projection.
I think it's also like a status symbol kind of thing. Well, I guess anything, maybe just one more topic.
Let's get into the gritty shit.
Where do you want to start with that? So okay, so tell me a little bit about childhood then. I feel like for a lot of us, like, I guess the music that we connect with, or maybe the music we make, the art that we make, the way that we do it, I think a lot of it, people don't really realize, derives from like bad childhood experiences. I know I had like a lot that like really changed how I'm shaped as a person.
I grew up in Philadelphia, like around this place called Frankfurt, and I was always trying to like do my own shit, like everything that I liked I would portray about myself. Like I'd wear like Minecraft shirts and shit, like everything that I liked I'd wear, Spider-Man shit, whatever. And it wasn't too nicely perceived, you know. I got like bullied